This is Radar from the Red Table coming at you with week 1 of this season, the MLB offseason, ending of the 2023 season, going into this year's 2024 season. Today is technically Veterans Day this weekend. As you can tell, the Pride for America, 4th of July. Okay? So obviously, once the Rangers won the World Series, that officially started the offseason, okay? So Sam Hillard, former Atlanta Brave, he's now got to the Orioles who DFA'd Joey Kribel. Padres apparently took out a $50 million loan to cover their September payroll, which is why they're looking to offload contract, which is why the Bob Melvin thing didn't work out. They're going to try to see what they can get for Juan Soto. They let a lot of their pitchers go in free agency because, they're trying to save money. Cubs have brought back John Malley to the Major League staff, which is that they think is important because he'd been with them before and they liked his work in the minor leagues. Which I don't know what that's going to do with David Ross no longer being the manager, which we'll get to in a moment. Because literally, if the guy is no longer the manager, he should be able to choose, the new guy should be choose who's on his staff. The Rays reassigned John Ehrlichman and sent Dana DeMont. So they're switching up coaching staffs under Kevin Cash because, again, they didn't go as far as they wanted. Giants outright on Mark Matthews. Victor Robles is becoming a free agent. Makes sense because Washington felt like last year they had a rotating cast of people in the outfield not named Lane Thomas so that they could start over anywhere in the outfield. Maybe Stone Garrett. So that's why Lane Thomas in one spot guaranteed. And Victor Robles isn't healthy. He's a glove-first player that in this day and age, they don't believe in glove-first players. He's more of a backup. Braves have signed Joe Jimenez to a 3-year, $26 million extension. They want to keep one of their veteran relief pitchers locked up because a lot of the other ones are now free agents. Sean Newcomb has now a new deal with the A's on a $1 million extension. I don't know if the A's are going to start him or leave him, but again, that's what his dude's been his whole career. Kansas City DFA'd Nate Eaton. I had this kind of early. It would be something that happened recently. But again, gluttony of outfielders that don't do much makes sense. Tupika Marcano is now a utility player for the Padres. Wonder where that will go. Both Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco's options were picked up because one reason is Kepler keeps consistently being a good offensive player and a good defensive player in right field every single year. Polanco can't stay healthy, and he's a former steroid user, and he's now playing some more third base. They just wanted to bat in the lineup. That's where those make sense. Brewers have re-signed Colin Ray. They just need arms. That's one of their problems because a lot of their arms were unhealthy. Alfonso Rivas, the quad A first baseman, is now in Cleveland, who already has like Josh Naylor, so obviously he'll get some at-bats at DH maybe. Cody Bolton's gone to the Mariners, Vinny Capra's gone to the Brewers, and both Andrew Chafin and Justin Wilson have become free agents with the Brewers, which makes sense because, again, they didn't do what they're supposed to in the playoffs. They could start over with some reliever. Omar Narvaez of the Mets picked up his own option, so he'll be sticking around. While the Yankees say goodbye to Bingo Herman, who has injuries, domestic violence, alcohol, all this other stuff, they're like, we're just done. Relievers Ryan Weber, Jimmy Cordero, Matt Bowman, and outfielders Freddie Cordero and Billy McKinney were outrighted because those are guys you play when you have a lot of injuries to your team. While Jeremiah Estrada, Nick Birdie, and Jared Young were also outrighted by the Cubs. And, all of them were just outrighted in general. Pirates, Cubs, you name it. Soler's officially opted out to become a free agent. Makes sense. He's a top power hitter. Seth Lugo's opted out of his deal. I guess he thought he had a good enough year to get more money. Tony Santillan is staying with the Reds. While the Mets said goodbye to Tim LoCastro, Denny Reyes, Bryce Means-Desanis, John Curtis, Luther Hernandez, and Peyton Baddenfield. Tim LoCastro is a useful backup outfielder when healthy. And the rest are just average relief pitchers that you don't really need. Yuri De Los Santos was outrighted by his team. Whit Merrifield's officially a free agent. He made the All-Star team this year, but he's old. So the question is, who's going to sign this guy? Ian Kennedy and Nelson Cruz both retired. I'll get to that later. Miguel Andujar and Adel Perdomo have both been put on waivers by the Pirates. Drew Rukinski is now officially a free agent. Max Muncy signed a 2-year, $24 million extension with the Dodgers. They like him. They're going to keep him. It makes sense. Not to test the open market if you like where you're going. Astros announced Yainer Diaz will be the primary catcher going forward. I feel like that should be a decision made by the manager, but Dusty Baker retired, so I don't know. Ryan Carpenter is going to the Padres. Brooks Raley's option was picked up, so he's sticking around. Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, both acquired from the White Sox at the deadline to the Dodgers, are both free agents because, again, it just didn't work out. And the Dodgers want a clean house of guys that they don't need because they have the money to sign the guys that actually can help. Liam Hendriks' option was declined, which makes sense because of Tommy John surgery. Just a bad PR move that you would say, you know what? You're making too much money. Like, no. And then Tim Anderson, he's making too much money, and he had such a down year that the White Sox apparently couldn't trade him now. That's why you wait until the season, in the middle of the season. If he's got off to a good start, you just flip him then. You'll get something, but you're not going to get nothing because he's obviously not a free agent attached with a draft compensation. Aaron Loop of the Angels and Eduardo Escobar both acquired at the deadline. Both are free agents. The Angels need to just try over again with this core. Trace Thompson and Clint Frazier were both outrighted by the White Sox. Again, backup outfielders that don't need to be on the Major League roster at this point unless there's an injury. Justin Turner of the Red Sox had such a good offensive season that I'm going to become a free agent, and that's a good decision by him. Mike Clevenger, Sox declined his option. Like, he was having an okay season with the White Sox, and between Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, who's been injured and inconsistent, I don't know if Touki Toussaint is going to be on the roster next year, but he may be because he's cheap. And so I don't get the Clevenger based on what you have. I personally wouldn't keep him around, but again, you don't have a lot to keep around. And both Elvis and Grandal are free agents. And that goes back to Yasmani Grandal being one of the worst free agent signings in Sox history. When you're supposed to sign a catcher who's considered to be a good offensive catcher and a good defensive catcher, and he's literally, offense disappears, and he turned out to be a bad defensive catcher, and there's been time he hasn't been healthy, you're like, that's just a waste of time. Well, Elvis Andrus, we brought him in both seasons to be like the second baseman because we had Tim Anderson, or when Tim Anderson got hurt or missed time with a suspension, he would slide over. And he's a good defensive player, but you're not expecting that much out of him offensively. In some games I went to, he literally was the reason why they scored runs. So I can't blame him for him being a backup player at this point, a marginal player. It's not his fault. Both Bellinger and Marcus Stroman for the Cubs are free agents, and they both had pretty good seasons, so I think they will get a good contract. Brewers said Wade Miley's a free agent. Kershaw had surgery on his left shoulder, which is bad because, again, with Urias probably gone for domestic violence, May and Gosselin and Buehler, we don't know when they're going to pitch next year, if they're all three are going to be healthy with all the young guys, so it's like, it's not good for them. And he was playoff Kershaw again this year. It was not good in the playoffs. Kevin Dickey is now the assistant GM for the Astros, while Paul Giannis is the director of player development for the White Sox. The former Orioles, Braves, etc. utility man is taking the role from Chris Getz, and the White Sox now be run by him for player development. Josh Barfield is working for Chris Getz. What are all those guys? Utility guys that didn't have long careers. So I really don't know. Trust that. Phillies said goodbye to Scott Kingery, which makes sense. Joey Votto and Kirk Casale became free agents because who needs a second or third string catcher? And they have so many position players that have been over that they're paying Spencer Steer out of position and Nick Senzel that you don't need Joey Votto. Hector Neris became a free agent, so did Nick Martinez, because again, Padres gave him all this money and I never understood why. So if you have a chance to get out of the contract, do it. And Rob Rodriguez said he was so happy with his life living in Detroit being a Tiger that he didn't want to get traded all the way to the West Coast. Well, now he's a free agent. Guess what's going to happen? He is going to pick where he wants, and he made the All-Star team this year, and people were trying to get him at the trade deadline and to give up prospects. He's a free agent. All you got to do is give up money. So he's going to have a market. While Christian Betancourt, who I don't know why they got rid of him, Jalen Beeks, who's a swing guy, Josh Fleming, Cole Sussler, Tristan Gray, and Randall Toppy, who they picked up at the end of the year because of injuries, those make sense. The Betancourt one doesn't make sense because they said goodbye to Francisco Mejia, their everyday catcher, and Betancourt became the everyday catcher for the playoffs. They don't have a catcher that you trust. Like, I don't understand that. Alex Reyes was injured, so that's why the Dodgers said we're not going to cover the second year. Maybe someone will get him because he's healthy. Andrew Heaney's and Jose Leclerc options are picked up. Makes sense. Heaney had a good season for the Rangers. They won the World Series, and Leclerc had a great season, but a mostly great postseason as a closer. Jarlin Garcia's a free agent. Michael Wacha had a good season, became a free agent. Hope the White Sox pick him up, but somebody will. Josh Bell decided he's going to stay in Miami. Garrett Cooper was straight at the deadline. Yuri Gurriel was on a one-year deal, so they're set there at first base. Mark Cannon got traded to the Brewers for Blake Holub. As I'm going to tell you this, between the two Meadows brothers, Akil Baddoo, I'm like, that's a lot of guys in the outfield. And then you got Matt Vierling, who they said is going to play third base. Yeah, like, I'm not going to play him at third base because he's literally not a third baseman. And then, you know, they have Kerry Carpenter, who's not an outfielder, played. So they have so many guys that made it make sense. And we got Spencer Torkelson, who had a rebound sophomore season, that I don't get why they're going to take bats away from him. So he's going to probably get a lot of bats at DH. Ross Stripling picked up his own option because, again, he's not healthy. He wants the money. This Yoshinobu Yamada got approved for posting, so he's going to be picked up by someone this year. Mark Melanson wasn't healthy for most of the contract with the Diamondbacks, so that makes sense. What makes no sense is that the Atlanta Braves said goodbye to Eddie Rosario for agency when they literally got him because he can hit 20 to 30 home runs a year and driving 80 to 100 runs in. And he was nominated for a Gold Glove this year, which I didn't think was possible. But they said, nah. Kyle Hendricks and Yan Gomes, options to pick up for the Cubs. Makes sense. Hendricks is the leader of that rotation. And Yan Gomes is a good enough, platoon catcher. You might as well keep him. Brad Hand's free agent. Braves don't want to pay him. Daniel Hudson hasn't been healthy, so it makes sense. He's a free agent, but the Dodgers kept Blake Trinan. If he's healthy, he's a good reliever. Bat Barnes wasn't healthy, and a great pickup Miami in the swap they made for Richard Blyer. That makes sense. Cueto wasn't healthy this year, so Miami gave him up. Sean Manaea became a free agent with the Giants. I guess he thought he had a good enough season. Giants keeping Alex Cobb because, again, they need somebody. Dave Hudgens, a longtime coach of the Blue Jays and former Major League player, got reassigned. The Rays GM Peter Bandix is taking promotion to be the president of baseball operations in Miami. So he's going from the GM in Tampa Bay to the president of operations in Miami to replace the woman that they fired, before, Kim Ning, whatever her name is now, whatever her name is, I can't pronounce it. So he thinks he's getting a step up. Chad Green's option was picked up because the Blue Jays want to see him for a full season. Riley O'Brien's gone to the Cardinals. Michael LaForte picked his own option because the dude's never healthy. And Stephen Vogt has been announced as the Cleveland Guardians manager. I like that. That's a really outside-the-box move. A lot of catchers become managers. He's a former All-Star. He's been a coach at the Major League level for a few seasons. That would be someone that, if Mark Kotsay left the A's and he didn't get hired by Cleveland, that I could have saw him going to Oakland where he played. So that's an interesting decision. I think that's a good move. It may turn out that he doesn't have the ability to be a manager because he needs more seasoning as a coach. He'll get another opportunity. He's not old. He's only retired a few years ago. It's not like he played till he was 45, So I like that move. Will Hudgens, Matt Klein, Carl Mueller are assistant GMs of the Brewers. So is Matt Kletenik, but he's an executive advisor. Carlos Mendoza was a consolation prize for the Mets. They hired former Yankees coach Carlos Mendoza to move from one side of New York to the other. I personally wish that they got Craig Counsell. I would have taken Ron Washington, Stephen Vogt. I personally wouldn't have gotten rid of Buck Showalter. I felt like the GM of the Mets, that's kind of what, Billy Epler was his fault for the team more than Buck Showalter. But again, with Billy Epler gone, Buck Showalter was like, you know what? There's a new GM, he's going to fire me. Why don't I just, leave? So I don't know if I believe David Stearns in that hiring because the Mets did that before with the guy who was, Felipe Alou's illegitimate son, Luis Rojas. So I'm just so I'm looking at that Luis Rojas, that guy was, the Mets guy did that. They're he's been a long-time coach. He never really played in the major leagues. I'm cool. They did that. They did the Buck Showalter thing. They're going to hire Carlos Beltran, the former All-Star. I don't know if this is going to be a good move, but it's interesting nonetheless. While Jared Young gone for the Cubs, the Cardinals, Matt Cronin got DFA'd, so Justin Garza become a free agent. Adam Ottavino wants to get out of New York. I understand that. Christian Betancourt got picked up by Cleveland, who has Bo Naylor, so Betancourt's going to be the backup. Blake Hunt went to the Mariners for Tatum Levens. Josh Fleming, who the Rays got rid of, goes to Phillies. Maybe he'll have a good season there. Charlie Morton's option was picked up because, again, when he's healthy, the old man is good for Atlanta. Kirby Yates and Colin McHugh became free agents because, again, the Braves just want to maybe move some pieces around in the bullpen. That makes sense. Jalen Beeks, the Rockies picked him up. Maybe he'll start there. I don't know. John Birdie, the utility man in Miami, his option was picked up. Ryder Ryan and Mike Plosinger and Eric Ullman were all outrighted by their team. Ed Duar got picked up by the A's, who don't really have a guaranteed everyday third baseman or first baseman because they had the nerve to play Noda in the outfield. So, again, there's some spots from Jackson Steve was outrighted. Brandon Little's going to the Jays. Mike Mercado's going to the Phillies. Zach Short, the utility man that was on the Tigers, is the utility man on the Mets. Doesn't really help them. Javi Baez, who had a bad season, opted into his deal. Guess why? He's making all of this money, so you might as well stay there and just make all your money if you got that option. Tommy Nance was outrighted. Carson Kelly and Mark Cannon options were picked up, while Tyler Alexander was DFA'd by the Tigers. Tigers, I guess, are going forward with Jake Ross and Carson Kelly as the catching combo. So White Sox and Carson Kelly, another story. Diamondbacks manager Troy Lovallo has been extended through 2026. Even with some lean years there, it's never his fault. I felt like it's the front office's fault. And this year proved that he's a good manager. They didn't have all the talent in the world. They got past the Brewers, the Dodgers, the Phillies. They outlasted teams with way more talent, so it's impressive. Andrew Vasquez and Trey Winninger and Cam Gallagher, all guys got DFA'd. Smiley picked up his option, so the Cubs keep him. Tyler Gilbert and Austin Emsra become free agents. James Rosen is now the Yankees hitting coach because that Sean Casey experiment did not work out. Let's see how that works. Mark Kotsay, because he didn't get the job in New York because he apparently interviewed, is staying with Oakland. They extended him for another year. Miguel Cairo is now officially the bench coach of the Nationals as Dave Martinez changed up his whole staff. Where we mentioned earlier that Geraldo Parra on the podcast and the video that he is going to be a coach with Ricky Gutierrez on the staff. So those are two former Major League players, famous for the National, they won the World Series. And now Miguel Cairo will be the bench coach, and I heard Chris Johnson is joining the staff. I'm sad. I was hoping he'd still be the White Sox. Never got a chance to meet him and tell him, but yeah, I really wanted to meet him, but I guess when the Nationals come to town, if it's the Cubs, I won't be able to with their security. But again, White Sox, though, they hired Grady Saunders, the outfield base running coach. Well, the outfield coach was Daryl Boston. He made both Gavin Sheets and Andrew Vaughn, when they play the outfield, look respectable. He works with Eloy Jimenez when Eloy Jimenez plays the outfield. He works with the utility infielders they keep throwing in the outfield. He works with them. They look good. So that'll be interesting to see that. They could definitely use help on the base pass. They make a lot of errors. They make a lot of mistakes running the bases. Marcus Thames, the older brother of Eric Thames, former outfielder, Yankees, Angels, Marlins, you name it. Hitting coach. He's been around the block as a hitting coach after being a longtime major leaguer. Is joining the White Sox staff. We already mentioned with Matt Weiss, the former Angels head pitching coach, and Drew Butera, the catching coach. Sox had a catching coach with Jerry Naron. Drew Butera, again, the White Sox decided instead of leaning heavily on Kansas City, which they did with this Mike Tozar dude, and Pedro Griffith picking this Rodriguez guy to be Eddie Rodriguez, the third base coach, they're we're getting former All-Star Grady Sizemore, longtime hitting coach and pitching coach Weiss and Thames, and Drew Butera, who's been a catching coach for a few years, and Jason Bourgeois, who is a former top prospect White Sox, never turned out, that bounced around the league and all over the world, and he's coaching. He's been added to the staff as first base coach and outfield coach as well, which makes me excited because I know Drew Butera, and I know Bourgeois, and I know Matt Weiss, and I know Marcus Thames, Grady Sizemore. There's people that I know, and I'm excited to meet them. It's going to be cool. Speaking of interesting decisions, Craig Counsell, instead of returning to Milwaukee, where he's the greatest manager ever, he's been part of that community for years. No, instead of going to big-time market New York Mets, instead of going to L.A. to coach, to be the manager for Mike Trout and maybe for Ohtani State. Nope. Oh, you want to go to Houston where they won the World Series last season, not this season? Nope. What other openings? Oh, the Padres are opening. Oh, they were a bust this year like the Mets. Maybe that's why I didn't go there. No, I'm going to go to the division rival Cubs, who already have a manager, David Ross, that if they were going to fire David Ross, they should have done it a few years ago when there was issues. That just to kick him out for him is just stupid, but okay. But he signed the highest contract for a manager ever, 5 years, $40 million. That's as much as college coaches are getting in other sports. They really, I guess the Cubs really were you know what? We need a manager. We don't care. We're going to do him. Hello, White Sox. If you could have had Craig Counsell, you could have had Ron Washington, who I'm now announcing is the new manager of the Angels. You could have had all these other guys, Stephen Vogt, whatever. You could have just shoved your manager to the side, like the Cubs just did, but no, you got to hold on to Pedro Griffith, and you make all these additions to the coaching staff. That's not going to change anything, because again, Daryl Boston, Kurt Hassler, and Chris Johnson were not the reason why the White Sox were bad. Chris Johnson was an assistant hitting coach. Kurt Hassler was the bullpen coach, and Daryl Boston, I told you, did his job with being the outfield coach and all this other stuff. That what it comes down to: who's the lead hitting coach, who's the pitching coach, and who's the manager. That's what it comes down to. You can tell I'm annoyed with that. Okay, Joey Kriebel's officially free agent after being DFA'd. Cam Eden was outrighted. David Peterson had hip surgery, so the Mets don't know when they're going to get him back. Alex Jackson's gone to the Rays minor league deal. Adam Oller to Cleveland. Carlos Fleebless is apparently leaving the Red Sox coaching staff to be on the Blue Jays staff. Eric Young Sr. is leaving Atlanta with Ron Washington to be a coach in Anaheim, which is cool because they're both, that would make sense. Tyler Alexander, if the Tigers DFA'd him, has gone to the Rays. Nats have outrighted Jeremy De La Rosa and Matt Cronin as well. Kiki Hernandez has hernia surgery. I don't know if it's going to affect him if he's a free agent or not. And Bryce Harper, they've talked with the GM, and they're saying he's going to be the first baseman. So they said goodbye to Rhys Hoskins. Oh, my God. Put Bryce Harper in right field, where he's won a Gold Glove before, and move Castellanos to left field because he's a defensive liability, and you can still make Schwarber the DH. None of this impacts Schwarber DH, no matter where Harper played. All it impacted was where Rhys Hoskins played, and now they may get Cody Bellinger, Teoscar Hernandez, another bat in the outfield. That's what they may do, because again, I'm not fully happy that one of my current favorite players is going to move to first base when he can still be playing, right field every single day. Now, happy trails, though, because we wanted some happy things to Nelson Cruz. a longtime outfielder, DH, who played for Milwaukee, Texas, Baltimore, Seattle, Minnesota, Tampa, Washington, and San Diego this year, has a lifetime 274 average, 2,053 hits, 464 home runs, and 1,325 RBIs, 7-time All-Star, made the first team and second team MLB, was the ALCS MVP one of the years the Rangers went to the World Series, 4-time Silver Slugger, Roberto Clemente Award winner, MLB home run leader, AL RBI leader, and a gold medal with the World Baseball Classic in 2013. He'll be remembered as being this great slugging outfielder turned DH, where the last 3 years he's just gone for hire. And we'll have the steroid thing attached to him, so it's like, oh, he's close to 500, he's close to 1,500. Yeah, he took steroids. That will be the interesting impact on his career. Happy trails to Ian Kennedy, the former Yankee starting pitcher, who, as I mentioned, started the Yankees, played for Arizona, San Diego, Kansas City, Texas, Philly, and Arizona. And then this year he played for the Rangers. And that's how he gets himself a World Series. He has a medal as well. And that he led the NL in wins 1 year. And he helped take the U.S. college team to the gold medal at the World Championship, and he was really good with a win against Japan. So obviously he has that medal. He's at the World Series championship, and he had a 104-114 record. That's what happens when you're a starting pitcher that starts to flail as a starting pitcher, can't stay healthy, and they move you to the bullpen. It's going to fluctuate your wins and losses. 4.16 ERA, makes sense, not the world's greatest starter, 1,775 strikeouts, and as I mentioned, became reliever in a close games out, 66 save. If Phil Hughes became reliever like his buddy Ian Kennedy did, then there probably would have been a chance for him to play a lot longer. I'm going to say rest in peace quickly to all the people who passed away in baseball. Rest in peace to former Cubs infielder Ed Winsteniak, who passed at the age of 94. Rest in peace to Bobby Gooden, the first baseman outfielder who played 1 season with the Red Sox. He passed away at the age of 80. Rest in peace to Leo Burke, the former utility player who played for the Orioles, Angels, and Cardinals and Cubs, that passed away at the age of 89. Rest in peace to Dennis Higgins, the former pitcher who passed away at age 84. Former White Sox Senator, Cleveland Indians, and St. Louis Cardinal player who had 46 career saves, 22-23 record, a 3.42 ERA, 339 strikeouts. Rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to Lee Richard, the former shortstop who played for the White Sox from 71 to 75 in the Cardinal. He passed away at the age of 74. Rest in peace to Bob Purdy, the former pitcher, passed away at the age of 83 with a 24-38 record, 4 ERA, and 205 strikeouts. He played for the Pirates, the Giants, Senators, the White Sox, Angels, and Braves. He passed away at the age of 83. Rest in peace to him. And then the last one is a little bit more important to me. Yes, he was a relief pitcher, and he has a losing record of 1 away to 117 and a 3.62 ERA and 90 strikeouts. Is Dick Drago, who played for the Royals, the Red Sox, the Angels, the Orioles, the Red Sox, second time in the Mariners. I grew up loving baseball, obviously, and I collect baseball cards. I have a lot of baseball cards. Somehow it happened to use my Facebook friend where we share birthday wishes over the years, or him liking things that I posted on my personal or my professional page. So it's just sad to lose him at the age of 78. He finished 5th in the AL Cy Young behind Vida Blue, Michelangelo, Wilbur Wood, and Dave McNally. It's pretty impressive as well. Okay? And he's also gave up the last of Hank Aaron's then Major League record of 750 home runs as well. So there's like 2 things for there. So rest in peace to Drago. And lastly, good news, Shohei Ohtani is donating New Balance baseball gloves to every single elementary school in Japan. That's over 60,000 gloves to over 20,000 schools. That's really, 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 really cool that he's doing that. But again, this was week 1 of the 2023-2024 offseason. For On the Radar and the Tater Blog, I'm Radar. I will see you guys next time with a lot shorter video because there was just a lot to catch up on. See you guys next time.